I think normally I wait like 1 or 2 minutes to allow everyone to join, but I think everyone that should be here is pretty much here. Plus, it's almost 6:05. Okay, let me just. If you guys can just, if you have background noise, just remember to mute yourselves. Okay. So welcome everyone. Let's begin. Welcome to our webinar this evening. My name's David. I'm from TAU International. We work with all of our English taught programs in outreach and recruitment. So I'll be sort of the MC for this evening. I'll talk I have a presentation I'll go through with you. It's no more than 4 or 5 minutes. It's very, very short. I'm just covering, the overall key benefits of coming to study with us here at TAU. Then we've got a lecture from Professor Colin Price, Head of the Environmental Studies Department at the Porter School of the Environment and Earth Sciences. We then have the program presentation by Professor Alex Golberg. We're also joined by a couple of an alum and some current students as well. You're welcome. We'll have a Q&A session just after Alex's presentation, and we do welcome you to ask questions then about the program, any questions related to the program or admissions, etc. One last thing as well, we are recording this webinar. We put it on our YouTube channel, and we sometimes email it out to prospective students for them to get a feel of the program as well. So this just gives you a good bird's eye view of Tel Aviv University and what's waiting here for you. We're an all-in-one campus. We're 220 acres in one site. We have about 30,000 total students, and within that we have 2,000 international students represented by from 100 countries. We have 9 faculties. Each of our faculties have their own building, their own library, with 125 schools and departments. And because it's based in one campus in one area, you do get the best of both worlds with regards to activities and programming as well. Okay, sorry, bear with me. I won't go into all of them. It's just a couple of rankings for you to see where we sit. We're number 8th in the world for graduates established unicorn companies. We're the only non-US institution to make that list. Top 100 Innovation University by Reuters. And innovation, is at the heart of everything that we do here at TAU. When you do come to us, you'll join an illustrious community of alumni that are movers and shakers across the entire world, from Professor Amnon Shashua, who was the president and CEO of Mobileye, Danny Gold, who invented that wonderful piece of technology, the Iron Dome, the founder of Waze. I don't think anybody in Israel goes anywhere without using Waze to calculate distance. They're all alumni from us here. We also have great links with industry. Again, I won't go into all of those details, but we have the remote center, the place to identify, nurture, and transform innovation into action. The entrepreneurship center that's actually staffed by professionals from the industry, as well as events that we have on campus every year, Cyber Week and the Artificial Intelligence Week, although they were done virtually last year. But usually they're a hub of activity with about 9,000 people on campus every day. Student Life team. If there's one thing I want you to take away from tonight's presentation, other than the academic excellence, it's the Student Life team. They are great. They're our our best asset here at the international school. They give you a soft landing. They are madrachim, which is a Hebrew word for counselor. They're here for you. They welcome you on your arrival. They're involved in the orientation. They're all actually Israeli students post-army studying either their first degree or second degree in Hebrew here at TAU, and they live in the dorms with you as well. We also have one in the office here on campus every day, and then they're available 24/7 for any kind of support or assistance you need, if it's related to housing, medical issues, etc. They also deal with all of the activities, so all of these social events, excursions and overnight trips throughout Israel, whether it's trips overnight in the north to Jerusalem, day trips and evening trips in the south, in the desert, and all the way down to Eilat. They are great. I mean, and since the lockdowns happened, also we had students that came to us that had to do quarantine when they arrived. The student life team, every day they took them 3 meals a day. They did virtual events on Zoom with them every single day. Discussions about politics, about Eurovision, general quizzes, lots of things on Zoom just to keep people active. But we're now moving back into what we were like before. So we're doing events in person, as per the current regulations. And yeah, they give you a nice soft landing. So when you come to us, you're not coming to us as an international student, kind of plopped into a foreign country with very little support services around you. They are there to welcome you, and they are here throughout your entire time. Okay. I think most of you probably have seen this on our website or had information, but we do have dorms and accommodation on campus in the Broshim dorms, which is about a 10-minute walk from campus. It's literally adjacent to campus. This is our new build student village with very modern, purpose-built studio, 1, 2, and 3 bed apartment blocks. And because we're up high, the views they have are superb. You can see all of Tel Aviv. On a good day, you can see almost to Jerusalem. You can also see a nice view of the beach and the sea as well. We don't offer meal plans, but all of the accommodations have kitchenette and cooking facilities. And I think most people, when they come to Israel, they're amazed by the food here. It's very, very good. And yeah, so that's me. I hope that was interesting. I just wanted to give you an overall feel of what's awaiting for you here at TAU. If you do decide to come and join us, which I hope you do. I'll now hand over to Professor Colin Price to give his keynote lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
I don't know how to get rid of those squares in the middle, but we'll leave it because it'll just waste time trying to figure it out. So welcome to everyone. I'm happy you all joined us today. First, I'll start off by saying that I was also an international student many moons ago. I grew up in South Africa, and after I finished high school, started university, I came as an international student to Tel Aviv University, and moved on from there to the States, and I came back here, and now I'm a full professor at the university and heading the Department of Environmental Studies. And one of the focuses of my research is lightning, like you see in the picture here, lightning, thunderstorms. And you also heard about, I think I'm going to just stop that and do it again to see if I can get rid of that square. So my research deals with lightning, and you also heard from David about innovation at Tel Aviv. So we're always trying to think of new solutions for various problems, thinking out of the box. I think that's in the DNA really in Israel. And as you all know, climate change is a problem, and we are talking a lot about renewable energies. And if we find sources for renewable energies, this will obviously help with climate change, slowing down climate change. It'll also improve our air quality, water quality, because the energy we use today is mainly fossil fuels, which causes lots of air pollution. But it also makes us more energy independent. Especially in this part of the world, the geopolitics and globally of oil, if we can rely on renewables in the future, then this will have a major change also on the geopolitics regionally and globally. But today we're still heavily invested in fossil fuels. About 3/4 of the energies from non-renewables, only maybe 25%, a quarter is from renewables. That includes hydroelectric power, which is available in some countries, but you need water for that, you need rivers for that, dams. But if we want to solve the problem, a lot of the environmental problems, including climate change, we need to find energy sources in the future, renewable energy. So I'll take you on a bit of a history tour. In the 1800s, a man called a person in England, Lord Armstrong, in 1840, he had a company which made boilers for hot water. And one of his workers was surprisingly electrocuted. He got a huge electric shock when he touched one of the steam boilers. And like we can see here in the image, when the boiler gets to a certain pressure, there's a valve with the steam can come out of the boiler. And when this occurred, the worker got this electric shock. And we call this the Armstrong effect after what happened there. And in fact, Armstrong, he made what he called a hydroelectric machine. And this machine you can see here on the bottom right is basically a boiler which is on wooden legs, so that it's isolated from the ground. And he put another little pole here, also on a wooden base, insulated, so everything's not touching the ground. And he managed to generate between the boiler when the steam came out and this metal plate, electric sparks like mini lightning over 1/2 meter long, just from the steam coming out of this boiler. Well, they did lots of experiments with this, and some additional workers got electric shocks as well. And in fact, a dog was also killed, unfortunately, in one of the experiments by being electrocuted. Well, this was a bit of a mystery back then, and so they called on the famous physicist Michael Faraday to try to figure out what was going on. How were we producing electricity? And Michael Faraday, in fact, if someone's interested, you can see the reference at the bottom. You can go online and actually download this report from 1843. It's actually quite a good read, because he used all kinds of materials and different types of water and metals to try to figure out what was going on. The bottom line was he found out that the friction of the water with the metal was causing the electricity. And he basically built this contraption where if you have a kind of a bathtub of water and you have the air going through, it collects moisture and droplets, and coming out the end here, and the friction with the metal produced this electricity. And by actually reducing the water or having no water, only vapor inside, and different types of water, he found you couldn't produce the electricity. So there was something specific having the water droplets. And basically Faraday said that the electricity is being produced by water, which seems a bit strange, the mixture of water and electricity. Well, if we move forward, say, to the 1950s, two scientists, Workman and Reynolds, tried to figure out how thunderstorms get the electricity. And they did an experiment in a lab, which you can see here, where basically they had this little bathtub filled with water, and on the one side they started to cool it down, and they measured if there was any electricity or voltage between the water and this metal stand. And what they found, surprisingly, was that when the water starts to freeze, you have this interface here between ice and water, you can get an electric potential here of about 230 volts. If you know in the plug in the wall, it's 220 volts. And so just from this difference between ice and water, you can generate electricity. And what's even more interesting is when everything was water in this bathtub or everything was ice, there was no electricity. Something to do with this solid liquid interface. And they basically developed an idea, which we still believe today, is that the charging in thunderstorms, the electricity we see, which eventually we see as lightning, is because of ice and water together. That's already what we have in thunderstorms, in clouds. We only have ice, water, and vapor. There's nothing else in the thunderstorm. And those combinations produce lightning, huge bolts of electricity flashing in the cloud and to the ground. So what's so special about water? Well, water, the molecule of water is what we call a polar molecule, and you all know that water is H2O, and the oxygen, the O, is slightly negatively charged, and the hydrogen is slightly positively charged. And also because of the shape and the orientation of the atoms in the molecule, when they start to move in water and ice, things start to separate, and I'm not going to go into too many details here. But when we take a water molecule, we have two, what we call ions. We have a negative ion, OH, and positive hydrogen. But in water, that positive normally latches on to another water molecule. We get what's called a hydronium ion, H3O+, and the hydroxyl ion. The only thing you need to remember is that one of them is positively charged and the other one is negatively charged. And this is the situation both in ice and in water. And so when we have water drops both freezing and melting in clouds, we start to get a separation of this charge. We can have, when water starts to freeze, the center will become negative and the outside will be positive, the opposite when it melts. And when then ice particles and hail in the cloud bang into each other, things can start to happen and we get transfer of charge between them. And normally the big hail particles, what's called here graupel, it's kind of soft hail, gets a negative charge, and the small ice crystals positive. But it's not so simple because it depends also on temperature, and so the big one can get or negative or positive depending on the temperature. Eventually, if we look now at the macro scale, thunderstorms eventually kind of organize themselves to have positive charge at the top, negative at the bottom. The small particles, ice crystals, which are much lighter, get positive charge, go up to the top, and the big negative ones come to the bottom, giving us kind of a battery with positive at the top, negative at the bottom. And if we keep on building this field and we pass some threshold, then we get lightning. Lightning is basically kind of the short circuiting of the cloud and to the ground. So all of this happens because of water. The water molecule is very special, producing electricity. And so recently, 10 years ago now, even more, 2010, a Brazilian group published a paper talking about this hydroelectricity, and they did a lab experiment where they took basically 2 cylinders of metal, different types of metal each time in each experiment, and in this area they basically increased the amount of water vapor, and they found that just by increasing the water vapor and exposing these metals to the water vapor, you can actually start to build up electric charge on these metal surfaces, similar to the ice and the water in the 1950s experiment, but now without ice we use metal. And so this intrigued me and my group, and so we decided to try to simulate this, firstly to copy that experiment to see really if it works. So this is kind of a sketch of our experiment in the lab. We basically have inside this box, which is all protected from external fields, 2 metal cylinders. One's connected to the ground, which means that there's basically we can't keep any charge on it. And the other one's kind of suspended in the middle, and we measure the potential, the voltage between the two. And then we put in either dry air or moist air into this container. We measure the relative humidity like we would outside, and we simply see what happens. Here's just a picture of this kind of contraption we built in the lab, where here we have the moist air going in. This is in a box which protects it from any external fields, and inside this inner box we actually have those 2 cylinders. And surprisingly, we saw it works. If we take these 2 cylinders, the one's connected to the ground, and we measure then the potential between the two, we can see here as a function of time, as soon as the relative humidity starts to go up, this purple dashed line, we start to get the voltage increasing between these 2 plates. Now it's not going that high, we're talking about 0.7, 0.8 volts. But if you think of a AA or AAA battery, that's 1.5 volt. So here from nothing, from water vapor, we've already got close to 1 volt. And as if we drop down the relative humidity, we see that the potential disappears, and we can do it again and do it many, many times. And as long as the relative humidity is above, say, 60%, which is the average, say, relative humidity we'll find in Tel Aviv in the summer on any day, the voltage stays up around about 0.9, 0.1 volt. We try different metals. Some of them are positive voltages, some are negative voltages, some don't charge at all. So this is still a mystery. And then we took our experiment that we had in the lab outside. We said, well, let's use the actual dirty air outside, the humidity outside in Tel Aviv. So this is for a number of days where we measured on the roof of our building at Tel Aviv University. Again, you can see at nighttime, the relative humidity always increases. There's an inverse relation between humidity and temperature. So when it's cold, we have higher humidity. In the day, the humidity goes down. And you can see in the black curve, the potential between those two spheres goes up at night, disappears during the day, goes up again. And then on our third day, actually, we had a very dry air from the desert. So the humidity remained low, and also the potential, the voltage remained low. So basically, we're at a situation, we're trying to improve this, and there are a number of problems, as usual, with any research, that we get voltages, but the currents are very, very small. We even haven't measured them yet, but to use this for a practical charging of your telephone or something else, even a flashlight, you need to have some significant currents. The next problem is that we cannot get past this boundary of 1 volt. We've tried different things. Things go up to 1 volt. So if it works, we've got a 1 volt battery. But even for, it doesn't matter how long we expose our experiment to the humidity, it remains at 1 volt. Maybe the biggest problem is that when you use metals and you have water, that after a few weeks of keeping them in the moisture, they start to corrode, start to rust. And so if we want this to work for months or years, we have to find something which doesn't corrode. But our long-term vision, maybe like we have solar panels on roofs which take up solar radiation in the day, maybe in nighttime we'll be able to use the humidity in the air to generate electricity. So with that, I'll end. Thank you. Alex, I think you're up now.
Yeah. You want to take any questions now or we do afterwards?
Whatever. If people have some urgent question, I'm happy to answer.
You can ask away, people, or use the chat function, whatever you're comfortable in doing. Okay, I think the floor is yours, Alex.
Okay, so you see my presenter mode, yes? The normal mode of the screen. Okay, good. So thank you all of you for joining. My name is Alex Golberg. I'm a faculty at the Department of Environmental Studies. And so from this year also lead the international program. So next year will be my second year. So you will be the first round of recruitments. So welcome. And the goal now is to give you a brief information about our program. So how we see it, what we try to build and what we try to achieve, how it looks like now, and eventually how it will look like next year, since we have some major changes in the program coming. And the major goal will be also to leave time for you to ask questions. Since we are all here, Liz, the program, is also here. So she's the program coordinator, and she's actually a point of contact for all questions, which relates to administration and the program run. And Colin and I will definitely can answer your questions about the academic parts. So about the program, we're talking about a quite unique program in Israel, which allows you to get the MA degree in 1 year. So usual MA programs in Israel and most programs in the world we know are for 2 years. This program was designed as accelerated 1-year program in English, which runs during 3 semesters. So this acceleration of the program also means that you will need to finish all the courses, which are usually people are doing in 2 years in 1 year. So this is a doubling the effort per semester, but you can graduate in 3 semesters. The approach is really multidisciplinary. So we will find and meet here faculty and lecturers from almost all fields of environmental research. And we're definitely touching all aspects of contemporary environmental challenges. And I think that the key part of this program is that we actually allow you to be in touch with the experts in the field. So eventually you are getting the training for people who are actually working on the environmental issues. So you see them in classes, but we also enable, and that's our hope, is to facilitate, contacts through different ways with both faculty and other researchers who are working on environmental issues. So again, you will have a mixture of lectures and projects and field trips, and all of this together will allow you maximum exposure to the environmental problems and maybe also some tools, solutions of how to deal with them. Major core interest, I think, is the mixture of the students. So we have students coming from multiple countries. So this year class is 22 students coming from 10 countries, and all of them have a really diverse backgrounds. And but what brings them all here is the interest in the environment. And I guess that this mingling and networking only in the class and also with the other programs at the school and the university, which I hope we will be able to make them, and under the releasing COVID regulations, eventually will allow you to get as much exposure as possible to different aspects of an environmental work and research. So in terms of requirements, I'll show you briefly. You can get all information from Leeds. We accept students from all academic fields. So again, this is a quite uniqueness in our program, but either BA or B Science degrees in any fields are accepted. So we have the requirement for the GPA, proof of English proficiency. We do require 2 letters of recommendation, at least one from the academic environment, personal essay, a letter of motivation. Why do you want to be in the program? So cost of funding, this year and also next year, going to be $10,500 per year. So there is a tuition for those who are Israeli students are according to TAUIntl regulations, and for international it's 10,500. Different scholarships and funding, so Fulbright, Tata, Masa, but there are also plenty of other opportunities for which you are encouraged to apply as soon as possible. And we definitely also help at least finding these opportunities, sharing with you, and you need to apply for them. Those who are Olims in Israel can get assistance from the Israel Ministry of Absorption. In terms of the program curriculum, very briefly, we have divided the program into introductory lectures, core lectures, seminars, and elective courses. So altogether, there will be 38 academic credit points, which is exactly the same you would get into regular two-year programs. So what happens in each one of them, I definitely advise you to go inside. We will have very soon, we will also have the power to publish the syllabus for all the courses. And so it's not enough to see that the title of the course is environmental policy or climate change as written here. I do recommend to everyone to get inside the syllabus and to actually read what's happening in the course. All the syllabuses are published, they're all online. It's a very good and informative tool for you to understand what's going to happen in general. So not only the titles also of the courses, but also to see some background information about what's actually happening, which materials will be in the course, who is teaching the course, and so forth. A real gem of the program are the field trips. So this is a really unique opportunity to go with the experts to the field and see with your own eyes and hands to see what's actually happening. So the problems, solutions, interventions between them. So this is the very important part, as we feel, of the environmental education. Additional part, which is also quite unique for this program, is the international internship. So besides academic environment, most of students who are interested in this degree on this program want to be somehow exposed to the job market and to see how and where these tools can actually be used and applied. And so this is the opportunity. We offer a 4 months internship position in one of the Israeli environmental organizations, which some of them are listed here, but we have much more. And the idea is really that you're going to work outside the academic environment on these positions to see how these theoretical or academic tools you hear about can be applied. So this is the MA program, non-thesis program. We do offer an option for those who are interested to continue for the thesis. So this is an extra year, so another 3 semesters. And after that, you can you get the MA degree with the thesis. And again, you can during the first year you can explore different faculties and talk to them, see what the fields of research are. Try to connect to them, and if you decide to continue for research and for thesis, you can do this next year. Or some students actually started already at the middle of the first year to get some experiences in the lab if they find the supervisor, so they can get the idea of how the thesis might look like. Career opportunities. So there are plenty of them, and again, you need to the best thing to get into the field is both to get education, but also to get the networking. So here are some examples of our graduates, environmental project officers. Few people started some startups, federal government consultations, environmental engineers, and so forth. But network. So the more you will be talking to people and getting in touch, you will see plenty of opportunities open, but also you will find people who might help you to find the right position in the right organization. So academic education is an important part of it, but also it's a networking part. It's also, of course, depends on what you want to do. So that's all on my part. So I want to invite our graduates and current students to share their view on the program. So please, guys.
Thank you, Alex. Shall we invite Amy first? Alphabetical.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going today?
Great, thank you.
Great. So I can't see anybody's faces, which is a little bit strange, but I'll just let you know and feel free to ask questions, either interject me or along the way. So my name's Amy. I'm originally from London, and I graduated from this program last year. So now professionally, I work in venture capital, a company called Good Company. And we're based in Tel Aviv, and we invest in good things. So what's related to this course is like the future of energy, agri-tech, digital healthcare. So that's what I do professionally now. I came to this program with 9 years experience in e-commerce and digital marketing from Canada. And I worked in big kind of international companies based out of Canada, but mainly US organizations. And I did that for quite a while, and I really enjoyed it. My background's in psychology, a BSc in psychology. And at some point I realized I ended up in retail, and I realized how uncircular the retail business is, super linear. And I made the decision to come back to school and do environmental studies. So I came from kind of consumer behavior and psychology. And then now I'm in a VC working in sustainability, health, environment. For me, this course, I took the year out of working. I worked 9 years professionally, and I took a full year out to study. For me, I came in with the goal just to learn. So this course I found for me really broad. You started, you were learning hydrology, ecology, policy, politics. And what I found as the course evolved is that even though there was a broad spectrum of what we were learning, I saw it in myself, and I saw it in people on the course too, my friends on the course, is that we started channeling our research projects for each course into things that we were interested in. So for me, I'm really interested in, I was working in digital healthcare before I started this course. For me, digital healthcare is really, really important, and the environment and the combination between the two. So whether I was in policy or politics, hydrology, all my projects started kind of molding around these topics. And I feel like this course gave a lot of freedom to, even though each course had its specific requirements and needs, I felt that there was a lot of freedom to also start exploring the areas that you were interested in. So for me, I ended up working in the areas that I was interested in. Caroline, who's going to speak later, you could see like pretty much most of her projects in each course was around plastics and single-use plastics. It was super important to her. And she's also ended up in a field where this is what is kind of like the essence of what she's doing. So basically what I'm saying is whatever your background is, whether it's professional or only you've done your first degree and this is your second degree, I think there's a lot of help from each course to give you a broad perspective of the environmental studies playing field. But if you have an individual and your own unique drive and motivation, you can start working that into each course that you do and learning and educating yourself more. So there's freedom, but also guidance. And for me, I feel super fortunate now to be in a VC, which is allowing me to be not in-house in a company, but I'm seeing a lot of companies in Israel, startups. And because I have this background from Tel Aviv University in hydrology, in ecology, in general environment, I can meet with startups around energy, agriculture, specifically in Israel, and have enough background and knowledge to talk intelligently to each different domain. So from my perspective, this course was broad enough to give me an understanding of lots of different things, specifically in Israel, now that I'm living and working in Israel too, but also I can speak intelligently to the area that I'm really interested in, like digital health and environment and how they combine together. So yeah, for me, I loved all my professors. I worked with Colin, I worked with Alex, with Lee. Even though it was a COVID year and it was unexpected, we actually still had an excellent year, and probably about half our cohort is still in Israel, and we meet weekly. So I don't know if that's something either. Good people, good course, and yeah, super fun year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy.
No
Firstly, thanks so
problem.
much for coming here and talking to us this evening. That was wonderful to listen to you, give your experience and your insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Caroline, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I can only echo what Amy has said regarding the course. And of course, please feel free to ask me any questions, or you can message me on LinkedIn if you have a follow-up question in the upcoming weeks, days, or months. More than happy to answer any questions. So yeah, my background is maybe slightly different to Amy's. I actually did a master's in communication and then went directly into a business corporate setting and did human resources for a year. And at that point, I was kind of thinking about, life and sustainability, and kind of going into like vegetarian, veganism, and thinking about, plastic and our waste and water consumption. And then I was really thinking to myself, okay, do I want to stay in a corporate role for the next couple of years, or do I want to make the transition now? So after thinking for a bit, I thought I would rather make the transition now. So I was looking into sustainable jobs and the environmental field, but then I noticed that the jobs really require, or it's very recommended to get education in environmental studies, environmental sciences, in that field. So I tried to look for, relevant masters, and found quite a few good ones in the UK, in Germany, in the Netherlands, and then I found this one in Tel Aviv. And I think what stood out for me, the one here in Tel Aviv, like Alex said, it's very multidisciplinary. And Amy said, we do so many different courses. It's very open and tailored. So if you have like a passion for sustainable agriculture, you can always interweave that into all of the different courses, which is really great. So you can kind of mold it your own. So yeah, I'm originally from Germany and decided to study in Tel Aviv just because, it was a bit of an adventure, and I just thought it was the right thing to do, and it was. maybe something I want to touch upon is the internship program and how it helped my career. So as I said, I went from like a corporate role. I didn't like it. That was not what I was going to be doing in my working life. So I wanted to change. And in order to change and find a career in sustainability, I was determined, to do the internship program and to kind of wiggle my way through and see how I can make, sustainability my full-time job. So I was interning with Greenpeace, the Greenpeace Israel office in Tel Aviv. So hopefully everyone knows Greenpeace. They're a pretty big environmental organization. So I did the internship. I think it was a bit more than 4 months, 4 or 5 months or something. COVID was in between. And yeah, I think it really helped to kind of gain an insight into the field and apply the knowledge that you gain into, actual working life situations. So if you can manage your time well and want to get that work experience, I very much recommend the internship program. But then if you're more academic and you want to focus on the studies, then I would say, focus on the studies and then add another year for the thesis program as well. And yeah, they've kept me on. I went from intern to part-time. As Amy mentioned, I'm big in plastics, so I was leading the plastics campaign in Greenpeace Israel. And then last year they hired me full-time. So I'm still plastics campaign lead for Greenpeace Israel, but now I also do some freelance work for both Greenpeace Germany and Greenpeace International. So I would say interning with Greenpeace was one of the best things that navigated me into the career I am today. And yeah, maybe a last thing to touch upon. I was actually living in the dorms, in the Broshim dorms, which is so close to the campus. You can just walk every morning, which is really good. I recommend it. But most people, I would say, live outside of the dorms, which is also great. Tel Aviv is very fun. And yeah, I think there's really great facilities, like the libraries are really good. I actually also did quarantine last year. So the student life team helped me with that and they provided all my meals and yeah, that was good. So yeah, to just sum it up, I think I can only recommend the program. If you even have like the smallest passion for sustainability, then go for it. If you're thinking about why should you study in Tel Aviv, then ask yourself, why not? Because I think there's more opportunities and advantages than maybe the restrictions that would be holding you back. And if you don't want to go for the education, go for the hummus. The hummus is really good and the food as well. So if that doesn't convince you, then I don't know what will. And with that, I pass it back to you, David. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. Yes, the hummus here in Israel it's the real hummus, and I think that should be reason number one for you to come. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Caroline. That was wonderful to hear your experiences and listening to your story as well. So thank you so much. Next up, we have a current student, Maya. Are you here, Maya? Yes.
Here.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So the floor is yours.
So yeah, my name is Maya. I'm currently in my second semester. I'm originally also from Germany. I moved 5 years ago to Israel. I studied as well communications, specialized in marketing and politics, and I had also a cluster in entrepreneurship. And for me, I'm sorry, phone call. Sorry. So for me, it's the same story. I wanted to do something better with my current skills instead of just being in an advertising company and optimizing algorithms. So I just had also like the tiniest bit of interest to do something better. And I found this program, and it's really like a blessing to learn from all various of aspects that are part of the sustainability or eco business, like anything that you can think of, we touch everything. And that's why we're doing the same thing right now. All of us, we have one interest, and we use this interest in all classes, whether it's ethics or politics. I'm totally into construction, so I love green buildings. I feel like also the Porta building, it's amazing. So you only like should start by coming with like a passion for something, and then develop it through all classes, because that will help you a lot, since we have so many projects and so many papers to write, and that's helping us to really develop a deeper understanding of all issues. So I can only highly recommend this technique. And regarding the internship program, let's say for me personally, it didn't work out with my first internship, so I'm trying to get another one. But I have other classmates who are really happy about their decision, and it's working quite well. So I would also recommend to do it if you have the chance, if you find a company that is appealing to you. I think that's a great way to learn skills. And yeah, I mean, we were in the middle of COVID, so it was a bit hard to establish relationships with the teachers, but now being on campus, it's amazing just to see the teachers in person and have real life like conversations. It's incredible. I mean, I love the building, I love our campus. So if you also have questions, I can leave my phone number and you can contact me on WhatsApp, and I can talk even longer, but I don't want to take too much time. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maya. I don't know if somebody mentioned, I'm sure everyone knows about the Porta building being the #1 greenest building in the Middle East. And I'm sure you've all read it on the program brochure or on the website. And you can see Colin's virtual background is actually of the lobby in the Porta building, which is an amazing new building. I think 2014, I think it was 15, 14, 15?
14, we entered.
14. Yeah, it was built with an amazing roof terrace there. It's wonderful. So thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone. We'd like to open up to any questions from any of you. Please feel free to, in the chat function, you can also switch on your camera. You can talk to us. We're here for the next 10 minutes or so, available to answer any questions anybody has.
Hi, my name's Natalie, and I'm applying to the program from the UK. I was wondering if you could tell me a little multidisciplinary approach. I come from a BA background in social sciences. What is it like, you know, taking the scientific modules, and also the types of assessments? Is it more exam-based, essay-based? Yeah, thanks.
I think one of the students should answer, maybe.
Good idea.
Should I take that?
Of course.
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Natalie. Nice to meet you. So yeah, a couple of my friends, they also didn't have a science background. I don't have a science background either. And I don't think it's too difficult. If you can navigate your way around, you know, reading research papers and understanding like what it's about, they're not going to throw you off and talk about, you know, things that aren't relevant for sustainability. But then if you are not too sciencey based, then it can be that you might need to, you know, do extra revision classes with friends or something. But I think it was totally manageable. And regarding the assessments, I prefer coursework, and I'm really glad that most of the stuff we did was, you know, presentations, assignments. I really like writing all the research reports. There were 1 or 2 classes where there were multiple choice assessments, but I think that's the minority of classes. Otherwise, it was all assignments, research reports, presentations, discussions, group work, of the like. I think that answered your question. If not, let me know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. Anyone else? Any questions for any of us here? Everyone's been very quiet. Oh, someone's put a question in the chat. Nomi, I would like to know if the English level requirement to receive an offer or is possibly. Do you want to answer that, Lee? It's related to admissions. Can you see it?
Yes,
Sure.
Noemi, yes, I don't see you. We spoke earlier regarding the English. Yes, you need to be of at least B2 level on the CEFR. So regarding the English summer program, we will see that the current deadline is May 1st, but I will check if it will be extended. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it will be, Lee. I had a meeting with Daffy last week and I'm pretty sure it will be extended.
Okay. And also regarding your graduation date, it's okay. You can apply before you graduate. If you are accepted, it will be conditional until you submit your graduation diploma.
Cool. Thank you, Lee.
There was a question from Lital as well about a general bachelor in general studies. Is that acceptable? I think there's no definition of what degree you can come with. Any degree that's an undergraduate degree recognized by Tel Aviv University. So we send your transcripts to a special office here. They check to see what your level, what your university or college, wherever you're coming from, what that level is, and they give it an appropriate final grade equivalent to Tel Aviv grade. So it has to be above, I think, 80%. But the actual topic of your degree, and if it's general studies or anything else, is irrelevant.
Cool. Thank you, Colin. There was a question also coming in from Alisa about the English language requirement. I've just put a link on there to the English proficiency page on our website that does list the tests that you're required to do. But I think if you come from an English-speaking country or you have an undergraduate degree from an English-speaking institution, I think you don't need to present English certificate. I think that's correctly, isn't it?
Yes, you don't.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Cool, thank you. Question from Layla. I have a question about combining work and studies. Are the classes mostly given in the same days or are all throughout the week?
I can say that classes are 2 to 3 days a week because it's an accelerated year. I don't know that maybe Caroline or Maya can say if they can combine it with some sort of work.
Sure, maybe I'll go ahead and start this one. So I didn't do full-time work. I just did the internship. And I only managed 1 full day a week of work, or every 2 weeks. It was different each time. But if you're thinking of like full-time work and studies, that doesn't work. And if you're thinking of part-time work and studies, then I think you don't have weekends anymore, because you have to do assignments and do the work as well. So maybe like Amy, she took a year off of work and maybe concentrate just on the studies if you're planning, to make a transition into sustainability or something. I would say if you can avoid doing both at the same time, then maybe do that. But then if you need to work, then you'll get like 1 or 2 days of work a week and then the studies as well, if you can manage your time well. But yeah, Maya, maybe you can add to that.
Currently, we have 3 times a week university, so Sunday and Tuesdays are the only day off. I think in our program right now are maybe just like a handful of people working. Everyone is doing the internship or not working as they are parents, and they can also not handle like being a parent and working and study. So if someone is a parent, I think also working is not, for a year at least, not possible. But if you find a job where you can work a few hours a day, I think that's possible. I mean, we have, let's say, on Wednesday we have class from 10, so you can start in the early morning, and we have until 6 o'clock classes. In between we have a break, so you can try in between to work if that's relevant for someone. But yeah, I think working is not the priority when you start studying it.
Thank you to the 3 of you that answered the question.
Wonderful, thank you. I think we've got time for, I think there's one more question from Natalie. For you, Lee, she's asking, is it preferable to provide 2 academic references or include 1 professional one in the application?
It can be 1 professional, 1 academic.
Okay, thank you. And then Georgia asked about information about the scholarship programs. I'll put a link. If you go onto our website, you'll be able to see we have a page there on funding and scholarships and sources of funding that you should explore. I'll pop that link in there.
I see one more question from Sonia, also from South Africa, asking about food and meat and the industry, and if there are courses on that. So I can just say we have a new faculty member now who deals just on food and its impact agriculture, and so we do have a course, but it's 1 course out of many, so it's not a degree related to that, but we do have a course on and some stuff related to food and agriculture.
Great, thank you, Colin. And I think there's no more questions, so I think we're finishing bang on time, which is great. So wonderful. Okay, so there's nothing left for me just to say thank you to Professor Colin Price for his lecture, to Professor Alex Golberg for presenting the program, and thank you to our alums Amy and Caroline, and our current student Maya for coming along to present to you today. And thank you to all of you for tuning in to watch our webinar. I hope you all found it informative and interesting. And you all have Lee's details for any admissions questions you can reach out to. Anything related to student life or housing or studying at TAU, by all means you can reach out to myself as well. Kyla just messaged something. Yes, I'll put a recording on our YouTube channel and I will email it out to everyone who registered so you can access it as well.
Great, and we look forward to seeing everyone registered in Tel Aviv next year.
Welcome, come on in. I'm waiting for you.
Great.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.